Hey YouTube, Guardian here, coming at you guys with a Cardfight Vanguard deck profile for my Royal Paladin Alfred Stride deck. So this is the deck that I'm currently running at the moment in Vanguard, and I really do enjoy it. So yep, I thought I'd bring you guys the deck profile for this deck, because I will be actually making a new Royal Paladin deck later in the month. Plus also I'll be upgrading another one of my decks, which I haven't really played a whole lot of, but I played a bit of it last week and I'm sort of getting back into it, so I'm going to upgrade that deck as well. So I've got a few Cardfight Vanguard decks to come on the channel, so yeah, stay tuned for that. But yeah, regardless, let's get into this Alfred deck. And Alfred and Blastoid are my favourite cards in the game, so yeah, definitely a favourite of mine. So first we'll start with the grade 3s. I run 4 copies of Light Source Seeker Alfred Exiv. So he's your main grade 3 of the deck, he's your main Vanguard. So what he does is that he legions with Blaster Blade or Blaster Blade Seeker. Preferably Blaster Blade Seeker though, because the deck sort of works with Seekers and stuff like that, so yeah. So his Legion skill is that whilst he's in Legion, he gains 1000 power for each of your other Seeker units on your field. So the cool thing about that is that it also takes into mind your Legion mate, which means with Blaster Blade Seeker being a Seeker, your Legion attack will always be at minimal 21,000, which is a magic number for the game, so that's really, really good. And the second part of his Legion skill is that whilst you have 5 or more rear guards, he goes critical as well, which is that's just great, because with more power increases that you can get through boosting in the deck, and also having the power boost from his Legion skill, he can get to really high numbers with 2 crit already on him before the Twin Drive, so yeah, very, very powerful effect. And his last effect is that you can counterblast 2 Seekers in your damage zone to search your deck for a Seeker card and put it onto the rearguard circle. So yeah, he's got an E-Special Counterblast, which is kind of why we want to have a nice balance of Seekers and non-Seekers in the deck. So primarily Seekers, but yeah, definitely a great card for the deck. It's all based around Alfred, so I've got to run 4 copies of him. And for the backup grade 3, we're running 4 copies of King's Adjutant Knight Galort. So his skill is that when you ride him in the Vanguard Circle, you counterblast 2, search your deck for an Alfred unit, ride it as your Vanguard, and then you Superior Call Galort from your soul to the Rearguard Circle. And then what his second skill is that whilst he's on Rearguard Circle, if he hits your opponent's Vanguard, you get a counter charge 1, so you get unflipped damage basically. So this guy basically, it just makes it so that it's more consistent, and you're pretty much guaranteed to ride Alfred every game. So yeah, you got to run the 4 copies of him. He's definitely a great card for the deck. Next, for the grade 2s, I run 4 copies of Blaster Blade Seeker. This is the Legion Rare copy of it. You don't have to get this one because this one's a bit expensive, but you can always get the trial deck one from the Seeker trial deck quite a while ago, so yeah, that'll probably be the easier option. But regardless, Blaster Blade Seeker, he's your Legion mate for Alfred, so you got to run him, and I like running 4 of him just because his skill is always decent. You know, you counterblast 1 to retire a grade 2 or greater your opponent controls on their rearguard circle. So yeah, overall, Blaster Blade definitely a staple in the deck. Next, I run 4 copies of the 12k Beatstick, Serdix, so whilst you have a Seeker on your Vanguard, whilst he's in rearguard, if you attack, he gains 3k power. So yeah, just the 12k Beatstick of the deck, just to apply pressure and more aggro. And then the last grade 2, I run 3 copies of Seeker, Proud Raw Lion. His skill basically is, whilst he's on Vanguard or Rearguard, if he hits your opponent's Vanguard, you can unflip the damage in your damage zone, plus give 2000 power to another one of your Rearguards. So yeah, definitely a nice card for the deck, and overall just a great card, because he gives you back that damage, so you can use it for counterblasts later on. Next, for grade 1s, I run 4 copies of Sinric. This is basically the 10k attacker for grade 1. So whilst you have a Seeker Vanguard whilst he attacks in the rear, he gains an additional 3k. So yeah, he's basically a 10k Beatstick grade 1. Great for early game rush, and the great thing with him as well is that late game, when you can use Alfred's skills to Superior Call Seekers from your deck, you can basically bring this guy out either as an attacker or just a 7k booster for your other rear guards. So yeah, great card for the deck, like running 4 of them. Next, we run 4 copies of the Royal Paladin Stride Enabler. The reason for running this is just because it gives you more ease of access to your strides. Your strides definitely are powerful in the deck, and you want to make sure you can go into them whenever it's needed. So yeah, the 4 Stride Enabler just to go into your strides more often. And then next, we run 4 copies of the Seeker Perfect Guard. You can run the G Perfect Guard if you want to, but The Seeker Perfect Guard is much better in the deck just because of the Seeker name. And also, if you are going against, say, a Kagero deck and they have the Dragonic chain, you can use this to guard your rear guards as well. So that's pretty decent. If you run the G Perfect Guard, you are running 12 cards in your deck that are not Seekers, which you can actually feel it when you start damage checking and you can't use them for Alfred's skill, which kind of sucks. But yeah, the Seeker Perfect Guard is just fine. So I like running 4 of these in the deck. And for the last grade 1, I use 2 copies of Seeker Rune Eagle. So his effect is that whilst he's boosting your Vanguard, whilst your Vanguard's in Legion, he gains an additional 4k power. So basically he's a 10k booster for your Vanguard, which is really good because if everything's set up correctly with your Alfred could be potentially hitting for about 36,000 and 2 crit. And this is before your Twin Drive. So yeah, definitely a really good card for the deck. This makes your lead attack even more powerful, which is really, really cool. So definitely like running 2 of those in the deck. Next for grade 0s, for the starter, I'm running 1 Guidepost Sage Elrond. So this card basically is, whilst you have a Vanguard with Alfred in the name, you can counterblast 1, put it into your soul, and then superior call any grade 2 or lower from your deck to the rear guard. So yeah, it's a massive utility card for the deck. Gives you access to any of your grade 2s or grade 1s. Normally I like going for the Rune Eagle, just so I can have it ready for Alfred. But yeah, overall just a really good utility card for the deck. Really nice starter. And for the triggers, I'm running 4 copies of the Trial Deck Critical and 4 copies of the BT16 Critical. All of them are Seeker, so don't have to worry about that, but 8 crit, it's just the preferred number that I like going with this deck. And then 4 copies of the Draw Trigger and 4 copies of the Seeker Heal. You don't need to run Margle in the deck because you don't run Thing Saber or anything that cares for Soul. So you can just run all things Seeker in the deck and just pure. So yeah, really, really cool. So that's it for the main deck. For the G-Zone, I run 2 copies of Transmogratory Dragon, Holy Squire Dragon. So this is basically the Alfred Stride. So his effect is, whilst you have a heart with Alfred in the card name, you can Persona Flip 1 in the G-Zone. And he gains different skills. So the first skill he gets is that all of your rear guards get unlocked, which is really, really good. So it can fight against Link Joker, which is pretty good for the deck, considering this deck is very rear guard heavy. The second skill is that your Vanguard gains a new ability, which is all your rear guards gain 2,000 more power until the end of the turn. So yeah, it just gives your field a massive power boost. And the last skill is that whilst you're at Generation Break 3, your Vanguard gains 3,000 power for each of your rear guards. So if you have a full field, he can potentially gain an extra 15,000 power. If you put that on top of the 15,000 he gives to the grade 3, you're looking at around about 41,000, which is just absolutely crazy. So yeah, definitely a great card for the deck. It was obviously made for Alfred, since you need Alfred in the heart in order to use the skill. But yeah, just a very nice card for the deck. So running 2 copies of those. Then I'm running 1 copy of Gabblade, just a very generic stride for Royal Paladins. If he hits the Vanguard, you can superior call a grade 2 or greater from your deck. So yeah, a very nice first turn stride, you know, just very generic, very nice. And I'm also running 1 copy of Divine Knight of Flashing Flame Samuel. A very similar effect to Drag Ruler Phantom, where you can deal a damage to the opponent before you attack him. But this requirement is that you need to attack their Vanguard whilst you have 5 rear guard on your field, and your opponent needs to be at 4 or less damage, and also you need a counterblast 2. So the requirements are pretty hefty, but it's definitely worthwhile if you are in that position to do it. It can make the difference between winning or losing, so definitely a nice one-of in the deck. Then I used 2 copies of Aerial Divine Knight Altmile, just a very good generic Royal Paladin stride for the deck. He basically allows you to gain 3,000 power to all of your front row units, and also if you have 2 or more face-up cards in the G-Zone, he can also superior call a grade 2 from your deck. So yeah, just a very nice card, and the great thing with him as well is that he doesn't cost anything, so you just need a Persona Flip 1 in your deck, in your G-Zone face-up. So yeah, just an all-round decent card for the deck, really, really good. And the last G unit I use is 2 copies of Holy Dragon Saint Blow Dragon, just because he's just a really good Royal Paladin stride. He can go critical very easily and gains a bunch of power if you have a full field. So yeah, definitely a nice card for the deck. So yeah, there you go guys, that was my Royal Paladin Alfred Stride deck for 2016. I really do love this deck. Alfred and Blaster Blade are definitely some of my favourite units in the game, and I just love the Legion as well. The art just looks so great. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to GPT-06 coming out this month in March, just because Royals are getting some really nice support for a very nostalgic deck, and I really can't wait to play it. So, yep, hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will catch you guys in my next video. See you later. Bye.